The fall of Constantinople in 1453 marked one of the most dramatic turning points in world history. It was not just the end of the Byzantine Empire, it was the beginning of something far more powerful. From the ashes of that ancient city emerged a new imperial vision, one that would stretch across continents and redefine global power. But the story did not stop with conquest. What followed was a transformation of a city, an empire, and eventually a ruler who would come to embody its peak, Suleiman the Magnificent. To understand Suleiman, we must first step into the world that shaped him, a world built on ambition, discipline, brutality, and extraordinary vision. From conquest to creation. After capturing Constantinople, Sultan Mehmed II, known as the Conqueror, did something remarkable. Instead of ruling over ruins, he rebuilt the city into a thriving, multicultural capital. Christians, Jews, and Muslims were encouraged to settle there, transforming it into a vibrant hub of trade, culture, and governance. But Mehmed's genius wasn't just architectural, it was systemic. He established a powerful administrative structure based on merit rather than birth. Young boys, often taken from Christian families, were trained within the Ottoman system, converted to Islam, and elevated into elite military units or high-ranking government positions. This system, while controversial, ensured loyalty and efficiency. At the same time, Mehmed introduced a harsh but effective law: fratricide. To prevent civil war, any male relatives who could challenge the throne were eliminated once a new sultan took power. Brutal as it was, this policy created a single, undisputed authority, something rare in many empires of the time. This combination of inclusivity, discipline, and ruthless control laid the groundwork for centuries of Ottoman dominance, from Europe to the Islamic heartlands. Following Mehmed's long reign, his successor Bayezid II took a more conservative and spiritual approach. He emphasized religious scholarship and stability rather than aggressive expansion. But this phase did not last long. Everything changed with Selim I, known as the Grim. Selim redirected the empire's focus eastward, launching massive campaigns that reshaped the Ottoman world. In a short but intense reign, he conquered Syria, Egypt, and the Arabian Peninsula. These victories were not just territorial, they were symbolic. For the first time, the Ottomans controlled the holy cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. They also claimed the legacy of the Abbasid Caliphate, positioning themselves as the leaders of the Sunni Muslim world. In one swift movement, the Ottoman Empire transformed from a regional power into a global Islamic authority. And then, unexpectedly, Selim died, leaving the empire to his only son, Suleiman. A young ruler, an uncertain start. When Suleiman ascended the throne in 1520 at just 26 years old, expectations were low. Unlike his father and grandfather, he had not proven himself on the battlefield. The military elite and court officials viewed him as inexperienced, perhaps even weak. In an empire where strength defined legitimacy, this was a dangerous position to be in. But Suleiman understood something crucial. Perception could be changed through action. Almost immediately, he launched military campaigns that would silence his critics. He captured Belgrade, a key fortress that had resisted previous Ottoman rulers. Then he conquered the island of Rhodes, eliminating a major obstacle in Mediterranean trade routes. These victories were not just strategic, they were symbolic. Suleiman was proving that he was not just a successor, but a leader in his own right. Power behind the throne. One of the most defining relationships in Suleiman's life was with Ibrahim Pasha, a former slave who rose to become Grand Vizier, the empire's most powerful official after the Sultan. Their bond was unusually close. Ibrahim was not just an advisor, he was a trusted companion, elevated rapidly above more experienced figures. This caused tension within the court, as many saw his rise as undeserved. Yet Ibrahim proved his worth. He led military campaigns, governed territories, and acted as a key architect of Ottoman policy. His influence extended across both political and military spheres. However, his proximity to power and to Suleiman himself also made him a target. In a system built on hierarchy and control, having two dominant figures at the center created instability. And in the Ottoman world, instability rarely went unchallenged. The heart of an empire. By the time Suleiman's reign reached its peak, Constantinople had become one of the greatest cities in the world. No longer a war-torn relic, it was now a thriving metropolis filled with markets, mosques, schools, and public institutions. The Grand Bazaar buzzed with trade, while vast architectural complexes provided food, healthcare, and education to thousands daily. Each new mosque was more than a place of worship, it was a social hub. Surrounding it were kitchens feeding the poor, schools educating the young, and hospitals caring for the sick. Compared to many European cities of the time, often plagued by poverty, crime, and overcrowding, Constantinople stood out as organized, prosperous, and remarkably inclusive. People from across the empire, Armenians, Greeks, Arabs, Jews, and Turks, lived side by side, each maintaining their own traditions while contributing to a shared imperial identity. This diversity was not a weakness. It was a strength. A global vision. Under Suleiman, the Ottoman Empire reached a scale that few could rival. To the west, it pushed deep into Europe, challenging the Habsburg Empire and even threatening Vienna. To the east, it extended into Persia and beyond. In the south, it controlled North Africa and the Red Sea, while naval forces reached as far as the Indian Ocean and Southeast Asia. This was not just expansion, it was strategy. The Ottomans formed alliances with unlikely partners, including European powers like France, to counter common enemies. At the same time, they supported Muslim states in India and Indonesia, creating a network of influence that spanned continents. For Suleiman, the goal was not just dominance, it was unity. He saw himself as the rightful ruler of both East and West, a leader who could bring together different cultures under one imperial vision. The rise of Hurrem Sultan. While politics and war defined much of Suleiman's reign, one relationship would reshape the empire in a different way. Hurrem Sultan, known in Europe as Roxolana, was a former slave who became Suleiman's most trusted partner. Unlike previous sultans, Suleiman broke tradition by marrying her and remaining loyal to her alone. This was revolutionary. In Ottoman custom, concubines were not meant to hold long-term influence. But Hurrem was different. She was intelligent, strategic, and deeply involved in court politics. Her presence shifted the balance of power within the palace, creating new alliances and new rivalries. Most notably, her rise brought her into indirect conflict with figures like Ibrahim Pasha, setting the stage for future tensions. The Magnificent Legacy. By the height of his reign, Suleiman was more than just a ruler, he was a symbol. He was called the Magnificent in Europe for his power and wealth, and the lawgiver in the Islamic world for his legal reforms. Under his leadership, the Ottoman Empire became a model of governance, military strength, and cultural achievement. But perhaps his greatest achievement was not conquest. It was control. He inherited an empire built on ambition and discipline, and he elevated it into a global force that shaped the course of history. The peak before the shift. Suleiman's reign is often seen as the golden age of the Ottoman Empire, a moment when everything aligned: power, stability, and vision. But like all peaks, it also marked the beginning of change. Behind the scenes, rivalries were growing. The relationships that strengthened his rule also carried the seeds of future conflict, and the systems that ensured stability would over time become sources of tension. Yet for a moment in history, under one ruler, the Ottoman Empire stood unmatched. A bridge between worlds, a center of power, and a symbol of what a unified vision could achieve. And at the heart of it all stood Suleiman, a young, underestimated ruler who turned doubt into dominance and built one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. Suleiman's story is more than the rise of one ruler. It is the story of how power, ambition, love, and vision can shape an entire age. And if you enjoyed exploring this golden chapter of history with us, make sure to like and subscribe for more powerful stories from the past.